Morning, class. This is Professor Norwood, and I just wanted to go over a few things relating to your final essay, which is an argument essay. All right, and I know this is what we've been building up to this entire semester. So this is going to be our most lengthy project, but there's no need to be intimidated by this number. If you've never written a paper this long or never written a paper of this nature, we do it the same way we do our other papers, just one paragraph at a time. And I think if we follow the writing process, where we start off with our pre-writing, which in this case will be our proposal, and then we take it through the drafting process. You get feedback from me, and then you work on the final draft. You'll be just fine. All right. So for the actual argument essay itself, I posted the prompt in the assignments module, or excuse me, under the assignments tab on D2L. And the topic for this, let me just go into screen share real quick. The topic for this is up to you, but I would just say, work on, when you're thinking about a topic, one, try to choose something that, of course, that you're passionate about, but also choose something that's debatable. And when I say something that's debatable, make sure you'll be able to find sufficient evidence from credible sources. All right. So to that end, try to avoid like conspiracy-based things, conspiracy-based ideas. Also avoid, religious themed papers, only because, one, your faith, that's your business, whatever, puts you, on the, I guess, on the path to, living the life that you want to lead, that's fine. But it's very hard to get an audience, a diverse audience, to accept claims based on faith. All right. So try to avoid, conspiracy-based things, faith-based ideas, and then, try to avoid, ideas that, sometimes we interpret our opinions, as I guess as factual. And sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But I would just say, make sure, whatever you choose, there's actual evidence, that you can provide to support, whatever claim you make, and not anecdotal evidence, meaning like, this thing just happened one time, or, well, here's this YouTube video, about my topic. That would be anecdotal evidence. Try to find, real, like, credible evidence. All right. And our library is a great place to go for that, our OCC online library. All right. But I'm not going to go over this whole thing because I want to spend the majority of this, this recording, just discussing the proposal. But for this essay, all right, you will have a minimum of 6 pages to take a stance on a debatable issue and support it with researched evidence. Your main claim should not be a form of a question. So don't ask a question as your thesis statement. Don't make an announcement, meaning like, in this paper, I will discuss, or, this paper will be about, after reading this paper, you will see. Just, state your claim. State your claim, right? College tuition should be lower, right? Private prisons should be phased out. All right. Life skills such as financial literacy should be taught in high school. All right. These are claims. All right. People should not drink bottled water because, it's wasteful, or it's harmful to the environment. Or better yet, people, we should get away from using single-use plastic because it's harmful for the environment. But, whatever claim you're making, again, just be mindful that you're going to have to provide reasons, in support of this claim. And then you're going to have to provide evidence, in support of those reasons. So I think if our claim is too opinionated or too subjective, or, maybe it's just a personal observation that we have, then we're going to have an issue when it comes to supporting our evidence, or excuse me, supporting our reasons. All right. So the content of your essay, I'm just skipping around. Content of your essay should be substantial, well-researched, and interesting. Interesting is, I know it's a relative term, but I think if your topic is interesting to you, then, that passion is going to carry over into your paper. All right. So again, just start with what you're interested in, whether it's politics, whether it's social and political issues, issues involving race, gender, sports, fashion, entertainment. There's something to be argued, within all of these fields. All right. And then if you really get stumped for ideas, I can show you where to go to just, get some ideas generated. All right. And then keep in mind in your essay, don't rely on one source. Oftentimes you may find a source like, hey, this says exactly what I wanted to say, or, this really supports my point. But you have to find like multiple sources that you can say that about, because if you're only relying on one source, it's going to make your paper and your argument come off, sort of biased. Or and then your reader's going to say, well, why haven't you looked at other sources? All right. This is a research project, not a rant, meaning you're going to need evidence, right? It's not an exploration of personal feelings. So don't make it about I, me, we, us, our. All right. Just make a claim and support it with good reasons and evidence. Okay. Try not to overquote in your essay. When you submit your rough draft, make sure you look at your turn it in percentage. And the sweet spot for essays involving research is between 10 and 15%. All right. But try not to try if you're going beyond 20%, still submit it, I would say, but that's just something you'll have to address, when you put your final draft together. All right. This is important. Not to say any of this other stuff isn't important. All right, but don't write an essay that's purely informational. Meaning, like, if you're writing a paper about climate change, for example, don't just tell your reader that climate change exists. Make an argument. Okay. People should stop using single-use plastic, or people should switch to the solar energy, or corporations need to do more, make more of an effort to halt climate change, whatever. But propose an idea. So don't just tell your reader that this issue exists. Make a claim, right? Take a stand on the issue, propose an idea. Okay. And then finally, Professor Norwood, I'm not part of your audience. If you do consider me part of your audience, just, like everybody else, somebody just trying to figure things out. All right. But I said, like, think of your audience as rational, but skeptical. Rational means they're willing to listen to reason. They're willing to listen to your claim, reasons, and evidence. But skeptical means you're going to have to convince them. And nothing convinces an audience more than evidence. We could believe something passionately, we can believe it with every fiber of our being, but we can't expect that from our reader if we don't prove it. All right, if we don't prove it to them. Okay, and these are some questions, to address as you put your draft together. And then here's the timeline. All right. Now, proposal annotated bibliography. I have the 19th here, but if you need, additional time, if you need the weekend, that's fine. I just, set it for the 19th. So the humanitarian in me didn't want to give you work over the break. All right, but if you need, to take a couple of days into the break next week, you're entitled to that. All right. And then the rough draft, which I will go over. And then the final draft is due actually the last day of the semester. So in total, we have about a month, to put this project together. And I think if we follow, this timeline, we'll be okay. All right. Now, okay. Your proposal. This is essentially where you pitch an idea, and it's also where you start taking steps to organize your paper. You can use the template, that I've provided, and really you just want to keep the bold categories, but the rest, you can take out. All right, and fill it in with your own stuff. Okay. So before beginning a research paper, it is often necessary to submit an idea for an instructor's approval and feedback. Your proposal should be written with the goal of convincing others that you have a worthwhile topic, a plan to execute your research, and an idea of how you will present your argument to your audience. Please take this aspect of the research project seriously, as rush job proposals usually lead to low quality papers. On the other hand, well thought out proposals typically lead to successful projects. Use the template on the back of this document. It says the back because when I print it out, it's it's front back. And then only type, but we're using D2L, so it's kind of a moot point. All right. So now you're gonna put the date, whatever date you start working on it or whatever date you turn it in is fine. All right, to your humble instructor, me, this is gonna be the same for everybody, but here, just your name and your school email address. Don't use your personal email address for this thing. Now, the subject of your paper. This is what it's about. Okay, the big idea, right? Climate change, right? Mass incarceration, privatized prisons, public school closures, community gardens, holistic living, or excuse me, holistic living. All right. AI, artificial intelligence, whatever you're writing about, that would go, in the subject category. And then the next category, this is your thesis statement for your paper. This is going to shape your paper, but even before you start drafting, it's also going to guide your research. All right. So the claim for this proposal, right? This hypothetical paper, that we're thinking of, is meditation should be part of the K through 12 curriculum in the US. Now we could stop it right there, but I just threw a because in there because of its proven benefits to behavior and learning. That's a claim. Okay. It's also debatable because, some parents may be thinking, well, that's going to take away, or some parents and administrators and teachers may be thinking, well, this is going to be taking away from time I could be teaching, from the core curriculum. All right. And then there could be other objections. So that's a claim, right? That's a claim that if I were, putting this paper together, the burden would be on me to prove this claim, right? To support it with my reasons and my evidence. So again, don't just draw attention, or don't just say that a problem exists, or don't just say that a particular phenomenon exists, right? Make a claim about it. Okay. Make a claim about it. All right. And that's really what's going to hold your paper together. And for your proposal, we're calling it a working thesis, again, because, it's still a work in progress. As long as the core idea is there, we can always like nice it up, however you want to. All right. Now, this section, summary of argument, the introduction to the problem. Why does your topic matter? Of course it matters to you, but you're going to have to make it matter to your reader. All right. Why does it matter? Why is it important? Okay. Why is it important? And some students will even use this section to get some ideas for their introduction together. So oftentimes when I see, students' papers, I'll look at the proposal and then I'll look at the rough draft, and the proposal will essentially be, this paragraph, introduction to the problem, which is perfectly fine. Of course, the thesis statement will be added, but that's fine. If you want to use this to start organizing your intro, that's cool for this part. All right. So for this one, again, for yours, you're gonna get rid of all this stuff, all right, and just keep the category. So yeah, just try to use the template. If you aren't using the template, just recreate all of these categories and make sure you're recreating all of them, because I have them there to kind of help you get started in structuring your paper. All right. So this one, an increasing number of elementary to high school age children are reporting experiencing anxiety, reduced attention spans resulting from overstimulation, and issues managing their emotional well-being. The effects of these issues are often displayed in undesirable behaviors such as violence, becoming withdrawn, and poor academic performance. In the past, most student issues were addressed with punishments, or they were outright ignored. Though some of the older methods of student management may still have some merit, perhaps it is time to rethink the way education is delivered in the US. Meditation has been proven to reduce behavioral issues and increase focus among students, creating an environment that is more conducive to learning. All right. So, if this were to continue, we could easily just insert our thesis statement there, and that could be our introduction, right? Maybe you want to make a couple edits or alterations, but if I think your introduction to the problem could also potentially serve as the introduction on your essay. All right. Now, the purpose, right? The purpose. And in this section, think about what questions your essay will speak to. All right. So you can start off by addressing your overall purpose, and then think about, like I said, what questions are you going to address, in your essay. This study will prove how incorporating meditation into public schools curriculum can improve academic performance and behavior. The questions to be addressed in this essay are: how can meditation improve behavior? How can meditation improve cognitive function? How would meditation fit into schools curriculum? How can schools get parents to buy in? All right. And as I put my essay together, if I were fleshing this thing out, some other questions may come to mind. But I think for this proposal, whatever comes to mind, like right now, that's fine. And this can be like a constantly evolving process for you, as writing, sometimes is. All right. Now, who's your target audience, right? Of course, your target audience is an audience of your peers, which is your classmates, a community of scholars. But I think if we think more specifically, who's going to benefit the most from hearing, what you have to say in your paper? Okay, who's going to gain the most, right? Who are the stakeholders, in your issue, right? For this one, parents, students, teachers, administrators. All right. Documentation style, MLA. That's going to be the same for all of us. We're not messing with APA, right? For this go round. Okay. Most of your comp classes at OCC are going to be using MLA, which is a great thing. But when you get into your social sciences, or maybe many of you are already in a psychology class, and then APA. My heart goes out to you. All right. So documentation style MLA is going to be the same for all of us. Now, this is also one of the most critical parts of this essay. All right. Because your reasons explain to your reader why they should accept your claim as opposed to some other claim, meaning the claim of the opposition. All right. So I have here, come up with at least 4 reasons to support your claim, logical reasons. All right. But I think if you have more, then it gives you like a certain freedom to, choose which ones you want to pursue in your paper. And you can also envision these reasons as either paragraphs or even multiple paragraphs. Like if if there's a point that you really want to emphasize, you may develop it over the course of 2 or 3 paragraphs. That's fine. All right. But try to come up with at least 4 reasons. But the more the better. Okay, the more you better. The more the better. All right. So your reasons explain like why you believe your claim is true. Use a minimum of 4. Envision these as the body of your essay. As the body. Okay. Increased attention span, reduced or completely eliminated incidents of violence, increased self-control, students develop a more respect for self and others, improved academic performance, and reduced anxiety. These are my reasons. Now, we can't stop there. Why? Because an argument needs a few things: a claim, reasons, but then you need evidence. So if I'm arguing that meditation can produce an increased attention span, now I need evidence to show my reader how that is true. If I'm arguing that meditation can reduce or completely eliminate incidents of violence in schools, I have to show my reader where that has happened before, meaning I have to show them some precedent. And This has to come from credible sources. It can't be, some YouTuber that has 1 million views or 1 million subscribers, but that doesn't always equate to being credible, right? There's clickbait, there's carefully edited videos, and so on and so forth. There's misleading videos, meaning, if I survey, 10 people, and all of these 10 people say what I want to say, and I only post that, I didn't tell you about, maybe I surveyed 50 people, and only 10, responded in my favor. So those were the 10 that I posted. Okay, so try not to rely on YouTube. And I think with all of the evidence, that we choose for this essay, try to corroborate that evidence. Meaning, if you find some information in one source, try to find it in another source to corroborate that evidence. Because if your evidence is only coming from one source, then that kind of it affects your argument. Because again, as I said before, your reader is going to say, well, why are you only using evidence from this one source? All right, so reasons and evidence go hand in hand. So just be mindful that whatever reasons you come up with, you're going to have to provide concrete evidence, in order to support that. All right. And that's our next, part of this proposal, right? Types of sources. What kind of sources are you going to use? Okay. Academic journals, absolutely. All right. Magazine articles, yes, depending on the magazine. All right. Newspaper articles, definitely. All right. Again, depending on the newspaper article and depending on the date. Okay. Just one of the rules about research, try not to go back more than 10 years. All right. And I really say that because, things can change so quickly in 10 years, especially now, in the information age, where, there's research on, like, myriad topics, constantly being done. Things change as new research comes to light, right? We can look no further than, COVID, meaning, like, what we knew in the beginning is kind of miles away from what we know now. And, there's still research, being done on, how this virus is transmitted and how it mutates, right? So when you're researching, try not to go back, more than 10 years, or I guess a better way of saying that is try to use the most up-to-date information that you can find. All right. And for this one, this study will utilize data showing student improvement in behavior and academic performance data. Okay, meaning I'm going to put some numbers and statistics in there. I will also use data showing decreased incidents of violence and interviews with teachers participating in mindfulness and meditation curriculum, detailing the positive impact of meditation. Now, am I going to go out and interview these teachers and students? If I were to revise this, I would definitely include a student perspective. Am I going to go out and do that groundwork? No, I'm going to look for interviews that have already been done. All right, because there's secondary, like a primary source, in the language of research would be if I was to go out and conduct these interviews. But most of our research is going to be from secondary sources, meaning someone has already gone out and did these interviews and published them. All right, those will work great, for this paper. Okay, now my solution, or your solution that you have to provide, how's your ideas going to work? Okay, like if I'm arguing for, free college, right? That's a great idea, but your reader's going to be thinking, well, who's going to pay for it? Somebody has to pay. All right, somebody has to pay because colleges have operating expenses. All right, they got buildings to pay for, right? Food, clothes, shelter to provide for students. All right, definitely have to pay teachers. Okay, so what's your rationale? And you don't have to get too far like into it in your proposal, but you don't have to get too far into your proposal. But it's just something that you'll have to address within your paper. And then finally, think about who's going to object to you, right? What are the objections to your argument? And then in your paper, you're going to have to offer a rebuttal. You don't have to know every, minute or minor objection, to whatever you're arguing, but know the main objections to whatever you're arguing. it's like I was saying, if I believe that tuition should be free because college is too expensive, I would have to respond to the notion that, some people think that, a more expensive education is an education that's of a better quality, which eventually will translate into, a better career. Okay. So I would have to argue against that way of thinking. Okay. Also, I would have to argue against, some people say that, free college tuition would increase taxes and it would be a real drag, on the economy. I would have to address that as well, in my paper. And specifically, when we talk about this particular proposal, I would have to respond to the notion that using class time for meditation detracts from the core curriculum. I would also have to respond to parents' fear that meditation could could force a certain religious doctrine, on children. And, I would make the distinction that, meditation is, just breathing. All right. No religious connection at all. Okay. So, and I had documentation style again at the bottom, but you don't need it. That's something I've been meaning to delete in every class, but this class has not been deleted. Okay. Now, okay, again, here's the template, for your proposal. And the companion piece to the proposal is an annotated bibliography. All right. And if you've never done one of these things, it's basically just getting some research together and then providing a brief summary. So your annotated bibliography is going to look like this. The only difference is you'll have another entry, right? Because you need 3, for your annotated bibliography. Okay. But it's really, again, like I just said, it's you find a source, you put it, you format it properly, and I'll show you how to format it in a second. And then you just, how many, just a couple pages of a couple of sentences of summary. Okay, so we found this article in the Atlantic, which is, a reputable source. All right. And actually I found this using an academic library, our OCC library. But Davis explores the use of meditation and mindfulness in the classroom through interviews with students and teachers. Davis shows the effectiveness of meditation in a K-12 setting. The article notes improved health, emotional well-being, and better academic performance found in students participating in a meditation curriculum. That's it. Okay. Then I'm moving on to my next entry. All right. Same deal, right? Found this, using an academic database. All right. And then I summarized it. So, and if you notice here, I'm using the hanging indent, for my entry. Okay. And I'm just going to cheat a little bit. And all right. Okay. Now, right. I'm going to cheat a little bit more. All right. And using Scribber. Scribber is great for getting your works cited page together, but there's a lot of these citation generators, and I'll show you how to use one in our OCC library as well. All right, so I found this article and I just want to cite it, or I want to format a works cited entry. So I'm going to highlight the link, copy, and then I'm going here, and this is a website, so I'm going to click website, and then I'm just going to paste the link here. Right? And I'm going to hit search. And here's my article. I'm going to click on it, make sure everything is where I need it to be, like all this is filled in. Occasionally, you will have to fill something like this in, but most of the time it's there for you. All right. And then I'm going to go cite source. And here it is. Now I just paste this or copy it and paste it, onto my annotated bibliography and then add my summary. All right. Also another trick, and this is, a few things that and here's a few things that I'll show you. All right, I'm just going to get into our library. All right. Move OCC bot. Covering up what I need. Oops. Okay. Just going to go into the library. All right. And now, if you are old school in it and you want to use a book, that's cool. All right. But I totally understand that most research is done, like from digital resources these days. And I'm perfectly okay with that. But just a quick thing before I show you what I'm going to show you. You can use this Ask a Librarian if you're like getting stumped, on your research. Go ask a librarian. And this chat is actually available 24/7. All right. Even like, if it's Friday, or early Saturday morning, 2, 3 o'clock, and you say, man, how can I find, some research about, paying college athletes, right? Put your name in there, and you can start you basically can start a chat, with the student. And like I said, it is available 24/7. All right. You can also email our librarian, Stacy, and I will put her email in a post on D2L. But Stacy is really great, for connecting you with research. Only thing about Stacy, she's actually a real live, human being, and she's not available 24/7. Okay. Now we want to go find articles in databases. All right. And now, if you're still thinking about, or if you're thinking about a topic, what you want to do is come down here to one of these points of view or opposing viewpoints and context. I'm just going to click on opposing views and have to sign in again. All right. Okay. Now, right, I'm just going to click on this because it's the first topic, global warming and climate change. Okay. And the thing about this page, it just gives you an overview of the issue, right? Doesn't necessarily take a position, because it just says, here's the issue, and it gives you, here's what this side's thinking, here's what that side's thinking. And after you do an analysis, now it's like, well, where do I fit in? What's my position after I've read all this? All right. So opposing viewpoints, and you could always, look at some of this stuff, right? Magazine articles, as I was saying before, magazine articles are pretty good, but it gives you like a broad range, of resources to choose, right? Even videos, right? All right. But if you go like magazines, let's click on this. Okay. And I'm just going to click on just any of these things because I want to show you something. This is an academic word, show you something. All right. So we got this article, reading it. Oh, this is great. Yeah, I want to use this in my paper. Okay. I want to put this on my annotated bibliography. All right. And here's a citation right here. You can just copy this and paste it. Or, some may not have that option at the bottom. You can just go up here. Let me move myself out of the way. You can just go to cite. And bam, here it is. Already formatted, right? Just copy it and paste it onto your annotated bibliography. Okay. And another thing about points of view and opposing viewpoints, let me go back. Oh, this is what I was looking for. You can just go browse issues. And it gives you a pretty extensive link, or a pretty extensive list of issues, right? Oh yeah, for-profit prisons. Okay, yeah. All right. That's what I was meaning when I was saying privatized prisons. Yeah. Pretty extensive. Pretty extensive. All right. And now you may already have, something that you're passionate about. That's cool. All right. But if you're struggling to come up with something to write about, again, just ask yourself, what you're interested in. Right. But if you aren't yielding any results, check this stuff out. There's a ton. All right. Ton of stuff. So again, when we click on one of these things, right, just gives you the overview. you have to click read more if you want the full scope. But you know, it gives you some great resources. You got journals, you got magazines, you got websites. There's stuff you can listen to, which is fine. You know, news articles, fine as well. And then you go down, you know, there's viewpoints, right? Here's what this side's thinking. Here's what that side's thinking. And then there's another site that's great for this as well. All right, procon.org. And procon.org, you know, is just what it sounds like, right? Here's an overview of the issue. You can click on pro-con arguments. Again, here's what this side's thinking, and here's what that side's thinking. Now, once you read a little bit of this, you know, okay, where do I fit in? What's my position? All right, and then you know, get to arguing. All right. So that's procon.org, and we were just looking at opposing viewpoints, and then the final one is points of view. Points of view is the same setup. All right, maybe just a different just, you know, it looks different, but it's, you know, pretty much the same as, you know, what we just looked at. All right, and then you can just go show all, and again, it gives you just a host of issues. Okay, a lot, right? A lot. Okay, and again, right, just clicking on police use of force gives you an overview of the issue. Here's your points of view. This is you know, if you just want to listen, just, you know, throw on your headphones and kind of zone out and research, because that's what people do. No, no one does that. All right. Magazines, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Again, I'm just going to click on this, and I want to use this in my paper, so I'm going to go cite. All right. Now with this one, you do have to choose, make sure you choose MLA. All right. We're on the 9th edition of MLA, but it's okay for this one. All right. Because this one hasn't been updated to show the 9th just yet. All right. Can you use Google for your research? Yeah. Right. But here's the issue with Google. You get access to so much information. So the burden to fact check that information is on you. All right. Burden to fact check that information is on you. Because if you use material from a source that's not credible, you've just affected your argument in a really negative way. All right. And the plus side of using academic libraries or academic databases is that work has already been done for you. Because, you know, it's not going to go into an academic library if it already hasn't been peer reviewed. All right. And fact checked. Now, some of the articles may say things that you don't like, but that doesn't mean that they aren't factual. Okay. You know, some may say things you don't agree with, but you know, that again, that doesn't mean that they aren't factual. All right. And the last database I'll show you is this one. I don't know if I like it because it's first, but academic one file, right? Okay. And this one, you may have to just mess around with the things that you search. All right, oops. So I'm just gonna search this and see what comes up. Okay. A few hits. So I'm gonna have to refine my search. Okay, now we talk. All right, now, so if you don't find what you're looking for at first, you may just have to refine your search a little bit. Also, this is where like the Ask a Librarian tab or the Ask a Librarian function can come in handy, because now you can ask, you know, a researcher, like, I'm having an issue, finding material on my topic, and they can help you tweak your search a little bit. All right. And again, it just gives you the options: academic journals, magazines, books, news, images, etc. Okay. You just click on, this is from 98, so I probably wouldn't use it. Okay. You can refine the date as well. Also, it has the date here, so if it's too old, I wouldn't mess around with it. Okay, there we go. All right, now, so I think the other thing about using an academic library is if you find an article online using Google, you may get part of it, but then you'll hit a paywall. If you go back, even the Free Press now, Detroit Free Press, right? It has the free articles, but then it has the section for subscribers. All right, or if you want to go back and look at an older article, you may have to pay for that. If it's from an academic journal, you might have to pay for that as well. But when using an academic library, those fees have already been paid for. So, or those fees have already been paid for you. So I would say, start with our library. All right, but if you need to expand your search, that's fine. But again, just be sure that you are using, credible sources. And if you go into content, right, there's this, I have a few modules that I have set to invisible, but take yourself through this module, how to conduct research, and definitely watch these 4 videos, online verification skills. They're very short. I think the longest one is 4 minutes, and the shortest one is like a minute and a half. So they're very short, but they're packed with content, and they give you good skills, viable skills. All right, crap test is just this, currency, like when was it published, relevance, authority, who's the author, accuracy, and purpose. Okay, this is from 2010, but some things about research don't change. All right, but again, I can't stress it enough, like finding credible sources. And if you can't find credible sources on your topic, that should tell you something about your topic. All right, now, my good people, okay, make sure you get your proposal in. All right, so I can give you some feedback on your idea. Get started on your research. Okay, like I said, if you want to take the weekend, to get, your proposal in, that's fine. In fact, I will update the date on the assignment folder. But yes, try to get that in. And again, folks, I know this has been, a tough semester, for a lot of us, whether it's, struggling with personal issues, whether struggling with academic issues, that is not lost on me. So just, do whatever you can, to finish this semester strong. All right, in my class and in your other classes. But I think, above all, it's just important to remember to take care of yourselves. Mental health, it's something that I think takes precedence, over everything we do in the classroom and outside of the classroom, in the digital space. So just make sure you're doing what you have to do to, maintain your mental health, as best you can. All right. So, take care of yourselves, folks. And have a great day, and have a great break. All right.